do you really think Erik ten Hag should be sacked?
Man United fans that normally come here and like me are not going to be my friend anymore. At the start of the season, most Man United fans that I see, the general consensus was get top 4 and win a trophy. Tick, they've already won the trophy. They're in a cup final, which I don't think they'll win, especially in the form they're in now and the form City are in. But it is a cup final, you never know. But if he doesn't get top 4, then by all the fans' standards at the start of the season, then he's failed. Like the general consensus when I was doing shows with Rants, with Saeed and with other Man United content creators like Cass and other people, and then seeing other people online, the general consensus within that fan base online was he has to win a trophy and we have to get Champions League football. So if he doesn't get Champions League football, especially if it's to Liverpool that's come from 13 points behind them and could overtake them and get that last spot, then, bro, come on. He's not achieved what the aim of the fan base was at the start of the season. Yeah, furthermore, he's done 200 million quid, right? He's done 200 million quid, and he's ended up getting some of the most embarrassing defeats in your club's history this season. In fact, the biggest defeat in your club's history, or for 90 odd years or whatever it is, to the team that is now right on your backside trying to catch you. Yeah, not only that, he's had more losses in the Premier League this season than Ollie had in the last 2. Like, so where's the improvement? You've added Varane. Yeah, you've added, well, he didn't bring Varane in, I don't believe, did he? It was before him. But you brought in Casemiro, you brought in Lisandro Martinez. You had 2 top players there, by the way. Yeah, you brought in a left back that now barely, barely gets a game. He sits on the bench for some reason. When he started the season, brilliant. Yeah, Luke Shaw's now playing. Luke Shaw has been part of that football club through its worst time, its longest trophy drought in 50 years. Luke Shaw's been through the whole part of that. And what's the reward? Here you go, have a new deal. David De Gea, yeah, if you can make a 10-minute compilation of goalkeeping errors, then he shouldn't be at the football club. And you can do that with David De Gea. For as good as he is with his feet, like stopping shots, yeah, and mad saves, ultimately that guy costs you just as many points as he saves you. What's that reward? There you go. There's a new contract. So, it's all well and good people saying, oh, you can't just get rid of all the players. Well, he got rid of Ronaldo, the highest paid player in the Premier League. Yeah, arguably the GOAT. A lot of people seem to think he's the GOAT. Cool. You can make an argument for that with the goals that he scored. Yeah, and he managed to get rid of him just like that. So when he first came into the club, I said to you, and I think I said to a lot of other people, Harry Maguire has to be stripped of the captain's armband. What did he do? Sat in a press conference. Harry Maguire's a good player. He's still going to be the club captain. That's red flag number 1. Yeah, red flag number 2. I said it to you as well on there. When you lost 7-0 to Liverpool, where was the accountability? Every single one of them 11 players started the next game. That shows weakness to me. Yeah, and then if you go to Sevilla and get battered. You've been battered by Brighton, Brentford, Liverpool. That's some embarrassing defeats this season. And at one point, you were 5 points off the top. Yeah, and now you're struggling for top 4. Marcus Rashford, as good as he's been at times this season, he's only doing what he does most seasons, purple patch.
So I listened to a lot of what you said there. So from your point of view, you look at some of the things you've said, some United fans will agree with. There's some others that people will take issue with. I just want to address them first and then go into the sacking of the manager. Kevin here, I agree with the super chat, says general consensus I feel was top 6, 7. I don't remember. I didn't go on a show with Rants. I'm not too sure what Saeed said. But most Man United fans I spoke to, when we did all our predictions on the football terrace of where Man United would come, no one had Man United higher than 6 this year. I don't remember seeing a prediction from anybody at the beginning of the season about even winning a trophy, let alone finishing top 4. However, during the season, expectations change, and I expect us to finish inside that top 4. So I don't think at the beginning of the season, people were saying, has to win a trophy, has to get top 4, otherwise it's failure. It was more about progression and to see how far we could go. But I do get where you're coming from when you say that. I think a few things are interesting. You mentioned there about Ollie. Well, he's got less wins than Ollie's first full season in charge, and he's got more points so far than Ollie's first full season in charge. Equally, based on last year, we lost more games, and we've already surpassed last season's points total. So I'm not going to compare Ten Hag's first season against Ollie's second or third because it's not Ten Hag's second or third season. We're going to do like for like. And it's the best, barring Jose's because he had 2 trophies, but points-wise and a trophy, it's the best first season a new manager has had since taking over at Manchester United. However, that doesn't mean it's perfect, and it doesn't mean that there are not areas to criticize, and maybe that's the difference between me and some top Reds. I'm not sitting here and thinking he's been perfect. He's definitely galaxy-brained it at times. He's definitely made mistakes at times. There's no shadow of a doubt in my mind. Some of the red flags you mentioned there. I mean, also the difference between Ollie's first and last season is we have won a trophy. And as you'll rightfully state, because you say that's the main aim of football is winning a trophy. So he's already surpassed what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has done. The difference being, though, which shouldn't be taken out of context, is we had Moyes, LVG, Jose, then Ole. 4 foul projects. Each time a bigger mess created because the previous mess wasn't fixed. So he's picking up and got the hardest job of all of them. And by the way, if he fails and it's a mess again, the following manager has got an even bigger task to take over from. So all of that context is important, and he did win us a trophy. I think so I've seen improvements there. On the Maguire thing, look, again, I need to be consistent here. I've slammed Jose. I've slammed Conte this season for talking about their players too disrespectfully in the public eye. We know that he doesn't rate Maguire. We know that he doesn't rate McTominay. We know that he doesn't rate Fred too much. And we know that, and they're 3 players I draw out because they've been heavily criticized by our fan base. And when he's had full fit squads available, he has seldom used those players when he doesn't have to. I get your point on David De Gea, but even if he does get a new deal at the club, it's a reduced deal. And when you read the other reports, not what he's saying in public, where he's talking about, we love the guy, he's a good guy. We are linked to other goalkeepers. We are linked to bringing in somebody else to challenge David De Gea. The problem that Man United have got is we have no idea yet exactly what our budgets are going to be, what our priorities are going to be. You let De Gea leave on a free and the Glazers stay and there isn't enough money, you could end up with a worse goalkeeper than David De Gea. You could end up with a better one, cheaper, but you could end up with a worse goalkeeper. So I think what their process is, let's make sure we've got him, and if we can improve on top of it, then happy days. But I do understand the criticism of De Gea because I've called that out as well. So that's where I'm going to be balanced. So for me, there are definitely some things he's got wrong this year. There's been some embarrassing results, absolutely. But I just think sacking him is a little bit too premature. I believe he more than deserves another season, especially as the season's not over and we make it into the top 4. And lo and behold, if we beat Man City in the FA Cup final, that alone is a tremendous achievement based on how good they are. I think everyone will be looking at Ten Hag's situation a little differently. So I do think it's a little bit premature to be talking about sacking Erik Ten Hag. Although what I do agree with is there's some areas to definitely challenge him on, and there's some big areas for improvement. We do have we've actually got the 5th best away record in the league. However, that needs to it still needs to dramatically improve next year. Those horrible away results where we've been slapped have to improve next year. But if we improve on those elements, which I believe within the right transfer window we will, we're going to have a very good team next year. So I just look at it as overall, I'm happy with the progression. There's been a drop.
1 second. Sorry.
No worries, mate. There's been a drop off towards the end of this season, but a lot of that comes down to still not having a squad that he has built and he has put together in the image that we want to create as a football club. So I do get your point, but yeah, I can't buy into this idea that sacking Ten Hag now is going to improve Man United massively. And the fact that I say, and I know you don't do this, Lee, because it's not really your style, but the fact that most rivals agree and go, yeah, you've got to sack him, that sort of tells me we shouldn't. Because when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was struggling and doing really badly, no rival wanted to see him sacked. But suddenly, rivals desperately care about the direction of Manchester United and who our manager should be. And, oh my God, he must be sacked. It's the only way to improve. So for me, I think there's a little bit of reverse psychology in there from rival fans to try and rattle United fans up. And, I believe we need to be balanced and it needs to be criticized without sacking him. Demand better. That's how you're holding him accountable, by you're putting that pressure on him. Now, if next year we spend another 200 million, 250, 300 million, and we scrape 4th again, we only win the Carabao Cup, we're still getting beat away from home badly, then you look at it and go, maybe he isn't the guy. He's had 2 years and we haven't seen those improvements. But this time next year, the world could look very different for us. So yeah, I think you're right to challenge him on those areas, but going as far as to sack him, That's beyond accountability. I think we'd be cutting off our nose to spite our face at this stage.
I get what you're saying. Listen, I only put that video out there because based off of what I see with Man United fans, they were 3 days in a title race, then it flopped, then they're in another title race for 3 days, then it flopped. Quadruple was on at one point. Do you know what I mean? So I wasn't trolling, yeah, because look, it's Man United, Terry, yeah, and I've grown up. I'm a little bit older than you, but we've grown up in that Man United dominating. Yeah, so for big Man United to finish 5th when they've been in that top 4 all season, it's a big of a bottle job as Arsenal bottling a title. In fact, it's not as bad because Arsenal going up 8 points clear of Man City, yeah. But sorry, it's worse than Arsenal because we were 8 points clear of Man City. What I'm saying is Liverpool were 13 points behind Man United. 13. Yeah, we're 8 points behind a quality team. Liverpool ain't quality this season. They've been beaten everywhere this season. Yeah, so for Man United to have Casemiro in the team, Lissandro in the team, 200 million spent, relying solely on Rashford, constantly playing players that are playing crap. Yeah, and then putting Luke Shaw in at centre back when he should have been not even in the squad. He should have been binned in the summer. Like he's done all right at centre back at times, but look what he did at Brighton.
So, yeah, I mean, and that was a stupid mistake. But Luke Shaw's actually been one of our better performers.
It's not a mistake, Terry. He's been there 9 years, and he's constantly doing this stupidness.
I understand that, but this is what I spoke to you about last week when we got into that debate about sacking managers when they fail. And I had a deeper think about what you said afterwards, and I understand where you're coming from a overarching standard. If you fail, you should be sacked. The problem is, if you took your methodology through to its nth degree, Premier League alone, you're sacking between 15 and 19 managers every year.
How many have been sacked this season?
Okay, but let me make my point though. But you would never create continuity at any football club. You would never create how Arsenal would move forward right now as an example. You would never allow a manager to get his feet under the table long enough to build a team in his image to be able to compete, because eventually, again, you might be able to go from Ten Hag and go, right, let's find another manager who has a similar style of football that can take these players and move them forward. But because the only managers you said last week you should keep are ones with a track record of consistently winning, it's only really Klopp and Pep, and you could argue Conte, but he couldn't stay this time at Spurs, that would be able to survive not winning the Premier League in any one season because nobody else has a CV like them. But if they're not given long enough at any one particular club, they'll never be able to build a CV up that is strong enough.
I totally get that. But at the same time...
So I need to finish my point. Sorry, mate. So from my point of view, and this is where it's all about balance for me, sometimes a manager deserves to be sacked. Antonio Conte this year, forget his track record, you could tell he lost that dressing room. And I think it's those little elements that are key. Has a man lost the dressing room? Can it be recovered in the transfer window? I believe with Man United, you throw in, and I'm just going to name players, it doesn't need to be them specifically, Costa in goal, Kim Min Jae at the back on the right-hand side. You throw a Caicedo or a De Jong in the middle and a Harry Kane up front. I totally believe next year Man United will not lose a single game as badly as what City battered us and what Liverpool battered us. And I believe our away record will improve by about 10 to 15 points. I believe we'll have I honestly think we can improve our points total next year by about 20 points just with those additional players and the manager being able to be a little braver and play style the same at home as he does away on a more regular basis. However, if we buy those players and we don't improve, then I'll become a little bit more like, well, they've got to look at this guy's job now because 11, 12 players are his. The squad is more his than it was. And we haven't seen, again, another significant jump and improvement. And I just think it's about balance and not panicking. I do see a lot of United fans online turning, but often with those United fans, they're the ones that rode out too big. They're the ones that are like, quads come in, league title come in. And then what happens is, it's very nice.
They put their expectations up to win 4 and then they ain't winning none. So now they look addicted.
But this is what happens, right? They put out that expectation. They go, yeah, they then get embarrassed because it didn't happen and it was never happening. And then instead of taking the L like a man, they turn on the manager or players. It happened to Ollie. Most of the guys that
players deserve some of it, though. I can't lie, right? All of this notion that you can't cuss a player is a load of rubbish, Terry, yeah? Right? And the reason I say that, I was watching, it was on Sky Sports YouTube earlier. I know we're going to come to Madrid in a minute, yeah? I was watching Ramon Calderon do his interview with Sky Sports on there. And I didn't even know this. Right, he said that Real Madrid in the last 62 years, I've only had one manager survive more than 3 years. That's insane.